So I experienced my first tropical storm about 8 or 9 days after being on the island, and it was incredible. The noise probably was something like you would hear in a battlefield. The thunder was just like shells dropping. It was amazing. The rain came down so heavy, you couldn't see six inches in front of you. It just came down. It was like a curtain of water. I'd never seen anything like it. And the lightning just lit everything up. It was amazing. I just opened up my door and I went out onto the porch. I just took everything in. It lasted from about 1 o'clock in the morning until about 3:30. The winds were something, they were just incredible. You couldn't hear anything else over that noise. Once the tropical storm had stopped, I basically just put a pair of shorts on and a t-shirt, and I took a bottle of water and I walked down the steps across the road. It was like a river, because the roads back then were only sand, just compacted sand. Once the rains hit them, massive potholes appeared, and it was just dodging the potholes and probably not going up to your waist into them. I got across the road and then I walked across where B&C's bar was, Bruce and Charlene's bar, and I made my way down to the Belize hotel on where we had our dock. So I walked down to the end of that, and there was basically a palapa. There was a wooden roof with benches, a little swimming area is where we took our swimmers, and I just sat there. And the breeze was really cold. Something else I'd never experienced in the Caribbean. Before the rains come, there's like a wall of very cold wind comes in, probably that precedes the rain, and it was shockingly cold compared to the heat that I had moved out there to. It was unreal. So I was actually sitting there shivering in a t-shirt, and I just sat and took everything in. Everything was flat. The clouds disappeared, the thunder was gone, and the lightning was gone. And when I turned around and looked back at the island, loads of the coconuts trees had shed lots of their leaves. Obviously the wind was so hard that it basically skinned everything. The clear water in the shallow parts was very murky. Obviously, with the rain and the wind and the waves coming in, it just stirred everything up, and it was incredible. The sea was like glass. It was absolutely like glass, and you wouldn't have thought that that had been a tropical storm just a few minutes previously. The tides had come in and washed up further onto the island and brought lots of seagrass and seaweed, and you could smell it. It was a really salty, rotten, stinking smell. And there were guys on the island that were employed to go around with wheelbarrows and basically clean all up and keep the little beaches pristine. That was one really good thing about the island. People had a lot of pride in how things looked. So I sat there for a couple hours, just taking everything in, and people began to emerge around 6 o'clock. They were probably doing the same routines, going into town to see if any of the cafes were open to get coffee, and just sit and chill with people they'd met the night before. It was still a bit too early for me to go down to Dave's, so I went back to my room, had a shower, and changed my clothes, and just basically lay on the bed until about 7:15, and then I made my way down to Dave's house into the back door, and Dave again Dave was standing there in his underpants, and his head was leaping, and he looked like somebody who'd just been electrocuted. Grumpy as fuck as usual, and probably on his 4th cup of coffee, and looked at me, grunted in agreement. That was his good morning call, and I made a cup of coffee and made my way out to his deck area and sat there and gave him his time to wake up and chill out. So again, Dave said there'd be no diving because the water would be too murky. So he had students coming, and this would be my first time basically taking a class, teaching a class. It was pretty easy. It was pretty basic, pretty simple. Dave just basically gave me a sheet of paper with the start time, introductions, and when to take a break and how long the breaks would be for, and what subjects to cover. It was just basic open water. So that was going to be pretty easy. This meant that Dave just could go back to bed and sleep, or do whatever he did in the room, as he would call it. Once you heard Enya, the singer Enya, or the music Enya come on, you knew that Dave was giving Sue the good news. So I prepped my class, prepped the table with the books and pens and pencils, and had the whiteboard ready. Back in the 90s, it wasn't DVDs, it was VCR tapes and a TV. So we had a video recorder set up to the TV, and I checked that everything was working, and waited for the students to come. So around 8 o'clock, 8:15, the students came in. I checked off their names and began the lessons, and that was my first full day of teaching basic open water. And I was a dive master at this time, so I never taught a class before, and it was great. The people were really nice. They were all starting off. They were like me, basically, when I came to the classroom, and it was good. Lots of questions, lots of answers, and they enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Dave just let me get on with it. He popped out every now and then, just to see that everything was good. The students had coffee, tea, biscuits, and he basically asked if there was any questions, and he asked how I was teaching, and that was it. Dave gave me the 2 thumbs up, and he disappeared out the door, and off he went. So that was it. It was as I say, it was a really good day teaching. I was just, I couldn't believe how much Dave trusted me. I'd never had that from anybody before. And in the afternoon, brought the scuba gear in, went over the scuba gear, the tank, the O-rings, the male and female fittings, the pressures, the poundages in the tank, the make of it, showed people when it was made, when it was in date, when it was tested, when it was checked, all that type of stuff. Spoke about the regulators, spoke about the BCDs, the buoyancy control devices, the jackets, weight belts, fins, masks. Most of the students there kept calling them flippers. I politely reminded them that flipper was a dolphin, and that they were fins. So it was a great day of teaching. When the class was over around 4:30, 5 o'clock, everybody was they couldn't believe that I was an instructor. They gave me lots of compliments, and they were really nice, and they said that they were basically looking forward to the next day of teaching. I told them that we'd be going down to the dock, and we would be getting in the water after we did the morning of skills, putting the tanks together, checking everything, weights, all that type of stuff, and we would be doing basic skills in the water. So I was looking forward to that. They all left. Dave didn't come back. Sue came in, asked me how things were, told me well done for teaching, and disappeared into the room and just told me to help myself to coffee or something to eat, and that was it. So I did a cup of coffee, sat outside in my usual spot, just love watching the ocean, and I went back to my room. I had another shower, lay on the bed, and fell asleep for a couple of hours, and woke up, prepped, and it was around about, I think, 8 in the evening. Took a little bimble into town.